Happy Wednesday. I'm about to jump in a couple best ball drafts. We're going to do our fifth and sixth in Best Ball Mania 5. Happy to be here with you. Had softball last night. My legs are absolutely destroyed. Happens every year. First softball game of the year. My butt, my hamstrings, just like by the second inning, they're barking at me. I feel like they're going to spasm. I'm not going to be able to pitch the rest of the game, but I always make it through. Won the game last night 17-3. We routed them, 10 run them before the rain came in. It was a fun night. I'm ready to have some more fun here, get into some best ball drafts. Let's go. I will jump in just 1 minute. Let me throw the overlay up here. Let me retweet that I am now live, and then we'll jump into a draft. Hopefully some of you will get into the draft, be able to draft alongside me. Had a few of you in the drafts yesterday. Didn't have a ton of people there. All right, let me retweet this. And then I'm good to go. I am ready to get into one of these drafts. It is, in fact, whenever o'clock. Hope you can join me. Let's jump in. All right, we got a few extra spots here. So if anybody has not yet jumped in, you do have time now to join me in this draft. I am here, Chris. I was a few minutes late getting set up. Good to see you, Birdogi. I don't know how you pronounce your name. No one to snipe you. You mean like at softball, nobody shot me? What do you mean by that, Steven? Fourth pick. All right, we got the fourth overall pick. Mike Zakarian in here with us. I don't think I know these other names. Again, I'm pretty bad sometimes at connecting the names to people that I know. So sometimes I know people like on Twitter and I don't know their names on Underdog. So, or in chat. So if any of you are in this draft with me, let me know. Happy to draft with you guys. Boo, Jerome. I had that same issue at my old job. Not when I was with Stochastic, but my job prior to that, I was not able to get into stuff at work. It was always frustrating. Favorite first rounder? I love that question. Let me think. Who is my favorite? I mean, probably I want to say Justin Jefferson because I'm obviously a Vikings fan. I am biased towards just wanting to have a lot of Justin Jefferson on my teams. I don't think that he's actually my favorite first round pick though. Like I do have concerns there. I feel like it's probably Jamar Chase for me. I do think that I'm going to be overweight to the field on Jamar Chase. I'll probably take him sometimes ahead of Tyreek Hill. I feel like last year was such an outlier with Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow getting hurt. He was the clear number 2 pick last year. It was an outlier year. I think it's kind of the best setup you could possibly have for a receiver. And I'll take him right here. It does kind of pain me because I'm going to be watching probably every Vikings game, and I just want to cheer for the Vikings, cheer for J-Jets. So maybe sometimes I'll end up taking Jefferson ahead of Chase. But I just think having Joe Burrow as your quarterback and being as talented as Jamar Chase is, kind of think people are overrating the injury situation from last year, reading into last year too much. I really think that was just an outlier season for them. Okay, I know what sniping means, Steven. I just don't know what you mean by no one to snipe your picks. But hopefully none of you do snipe my picks. Man, if only I could tell time, could guess who's going to be the biggest riser. I mean, it's kind of already happened with Xavier Worthy. I was going to say Worthy could be up there. That's a good question. Ian. I think Ben Sinnott is getting a lot of steam already. He's already been moving up quite a bit. So he could be on that list. I'll have to think about that. It's hard to guess in part because like it's going to be probably dependent on like the news that comes out of camps, how players are looking, how the depth charts are looking in August can change things quite a bit. The biggest riser is obviously going to be kind of a later round pick, like somebody who's in the 3rd round right now doesn't have that much room to move up. So yeah, it'll probably be a late round pick. I'm trying to think who it might be. It's a good question. Could see Trey Benson continue to move up again. I've been saying I'm in on Trey Benson. Could see him moving up a little bit more. Oh, sorry, I know you guys like to see the board, so let me throw the board up there. I'll have to think about it a little bit more. I haven't been doing it, Chris, but I do think it's a good idea to stack divisions for sure. Like I have not been doing it on in my draft so far, but I think it's definitely a sharp thing to do. Still kind of getting the lay of the land, getting used to the new drafting landscape. So I'm right now just kind of drafting to complete my stacks and hope for the best from there. Make sure I have good talent at each position. But yeah, definitely a sharp thing to do. All right. Who do I want here? Who do I want to fall to me? I got Jamar Chase. I think I'd be happy with any of these three, to be honest. With the Niners potentially trading one of the receivers, we could see a rise for either of Ayuk or Debo, depending on who stays. I think is probably going to get the bigger rise, but maybe depends on where one of them goes. If one of them is traded, I'm going to go Ayuk here. I like Ayuk. Sounds like it's pretty likely Ayuk is going to stay at this point. It sounds like it's more likely that Debo gets traded. I feel like I've done this start a lot, the Chase Ayuk start in the pre-draft stuff. I don't think I've done it yet in my Best Ball Mania drafts, though, so that's all right. And then I think you can kind of easily end up on Cincinnati, San Francisco being your stacks. I think it just kind of comes naturally a lot of the time. With Burrow landing around that 72nd pick and then Purdy landing around that 96th pick. All right, who do we got here? Don't hate the idea of taking Diggs here. I am big on Waddle. This is sort of by ADP as well. Okay. Yeah, I'll go Diggs. I got a Diggs yesterday. That's my only concern. I mean, other than Diggs was kind of falling off last year, I guess there's that too. Throw the board back up here. Man, Laporta moving up. It felt like Laporta was going to continue free falling for reasons unknown to me. It seemed like he was falling a lot last year, or sorry, like the past month or so. Anybody I feel is priced too high in the first two rounds? Probably, yeah. Let me look. I mean, DJ Moore, I think, is too high if he's going in the second round. And I don't have ADP pulled up here, but I think he has been going kind of late second round. I feel like that's a little bit too high for DJ Moore. Nico Collins, certainly. I don't really see a difference between Nico Collins and Stephon Diggs. Don't see a reason he needs to be going that high. The running backs in general, both Saquon Barkley, Jonathan Taylor, I think are going a little bit too high. Even Gibbs, I'm a little bit like, I don't know. He's in a split backfield. He's probably fine. I don't feel as much like he's overvalued here. I do think I have concerns about Achane, Kyren and I don't think they're like mega too high, but I would prefer, I would be drafting more of Achane and Kyren kind of the later second round. I feel like they've been going mid second round, early second round in general. But yeah, I would say those are generally it's the running backs after the top three that I have the biggest concerns about as far as their ADP goes. But I guess also, yeah, just the running backs and then also the top drafted receiver in the kind of draft rooms where I'm not that confident that they're going to have the alpha workload. Like, so obviously Nico and DJ Moore here, I think they both have three really good receivers. I think that DJ Moore, I'm pretty confident, is the best receiver to draft from Chicago, but I'm not sure that he's worth the price of second round. I'm not that confident that Nico Collins is the best receiver to draft for Houston. I kind of think it's kind of up in the air. Tank Dell was right there with him when he was healthy last year. Stephon Diggs, certainly talented, and he's kind of a diva. So I'm a little bit concerned that they're going to need to get Stephon Diggs the ball to keep him happy. So I'm concerned about Nico Collins there. Yeah, Jerome with me that Achan's probably up there. Yeah, Lad McConkey did already jump quite a bit. Yeah, I agree with this. Bindles, Jacobs, and ETN should be going way closer to Saquon and JT. And in my opinion, though, it's that JT and Saquon should be falling back rather than moving those guys up. I could see somebody like a Jacob Cowan could move up quite a bit. Like he's, the later drafted receivers on some of these teams. Jacob Cowan, who's the other one? The Chargers, their late round receiver. I feel like we got some talented receivers that fell really late to pretty good landing spots, I think, or at least like good teams where if they get an opportunity, they could look good. Here, let me make my pick and then I'll think about it more. Looks like Tank Dell must have gone, right? I was thinking I could add him to the stack if I wanted to here. Hard for me to pass on Lamar here, though. Just because I have Stephon Diggs, I had to think about, like, do I want to try and take CJ Stroud either here or with my next pick? But man, I feel good about Lamar Jackson. I feel better about Mahomes more and more. I feel good about Mahomes. Like he's somebody that I have not drafted a ton of, but I do think with the addition of all of these good receivers, I'm more in on Mahomes than I was a month ago. Am I going to get one of my guys? Ooh, man, interesting. Kincaid and Pitts there, but he left me my two Baltimore guys, so can't be too mad there. And now is DD Firth going to leave me with a tough decision here? Because I prefer Andrews over Flowers, but it's tougher to get this pair in with Lamar and Flowers. So, and also all the other top tight ends just went off the board. So I do feel like I'm in a bit of a tough spot here. What do I do? Do I go Andrews or Flowers? You tell me. Because I always just want to take Mark Andrews. Just do the Lamar Andrews pairing. All right, I got 12 more seconds. So I'm going to see if anybody responds and let you make this decision for me. I don't think you're going to do it in time, though. So I'm going to go back, moving my guy Andrews up. I'm taking him. I feel good about it. I feel good about that pick. I maybe should have taken Flowers just for it'll be a little bit of a rarer combo, I think. But with tight ends being sort of scarce already in this room, with those two just going Kincaid and Pitts way earlier than ADP, I don't feel like it's as likely that a tight end is going to fall to me at my next turn. So I think just pairing Lamar and Andrews makes more sense to me for this particular draft than Zay Flowers. And I'll keep Zay Flowers starred there just in case. Now he goes shockingly. Okay, you guys all see you're on like a 5-second delay or something. So I think you all made your opinions known just a second after I was able to get them. Bindles in with me on Andrews, Chris Ford with me on Andrews. Jerome wanted me to go Flowers, but two out of three. So we went according to the poll results anyway. Which I haven't figured out how to do polls in StreamYard. Bindles, I don't know if you do StreamYard or how you do your streams, but I'm curious if you are able to do polls. Something I need to figure out because it's kind of fun, but I'm not going to go to like a new software to do it. It's not that fun where I'm going to be going to a new software to do polls or a different site or whatever. Addison goes a little bit high at pick 56. With TJ Hawkinson out, though, I think Addison is probably he is the number 2 receiver for the Vikings. He might have a really big year again. So I'm still in on Addison this year, I think. Even with the rookie quarterback, potentially, or Sam Darnold. Yeah, I think I don't have a lot of Hollywood Brown, so I don't know if I'm hoping for it. I think I just he moved up too quickly, and I wasn't ready for it. Kind of missed my opportunity to really jump in there after he went to the Chiefs. I had some before he went, but he's always paired with Kyler, so I have a lot of Hollywood with Kyler. It was kind of an easy double click for a while in the pre-draft stuff. I'm liking this team so far. We got 3 receivers. Got Lamar with Andrews. No running backs. We're going low T today. But I feel good about how it's gone so far. Thank you, Bindles. Appreciate you. Bindles, hopefully we're going to be able to figure out a time next week for Bindles to come on this channel. We're talking. Would be a fun draft. Maybe I'll wear my sunglasses for it. All right. Well, no tight ends have gone since I drafted Mark Andrews, so maybe I could have pushed it. I mean, I couldn't have pushed Andrews. He wasn't coming back to me. But I was a little bit concerned that there was going to be like a run on a lot of tight ends going early. That didn't happen, at least. Marquise Brown goes at 66. That would have been fun if he fell to me. Burrow goes. Oh, the Higgins owner got him. All right. I thought I was going to take Burrow with one of my next 2 picks, but can't blame the Higgins owner for taking Burrow there. And actually, I already have Lamar, so do I really want a second quarterback this early anyway? Probably not. So I'm good with it. Could take Brian Thomas. He goes Brian Thomas. I think I add on to my San Francisco stack now. Yeah, can add on to my San Fran stack. Get my second elite tight end. Still sitting at just 3 wide receivers and zero running backs, so it's a little bit of a riskier, but it's kind of fun if I can stack up San Francisco and Baltimore. 2 conference champions last year, if I remember correctly. Yeah, they both had the bye week. All right, I'll make my pick before I put the board back up. Steven, I think I'm mostly a 2 quarterback guy. I will take 3 quarterbacks if like I don't take one until like if I don't take a quarterback prior to like the Brock Purdy area, then I'm more likely to take 3. But if I get an early quarterback, I'm probably just going to be a 2 quarterback guy, I think. All right, let's see here. Not taking Ingram. I got my 2 tight ends already. Could take Deontay Johnson. Zamir White goes unscathed in the draft. I'll do it. I'll go Zamir White. Get my first run. I probably should have gone wide receiver there. I don't know. That's tough. But having just 3 wide receivers, now that I'm thinking about it, I probably should have gone with. It's just I don't feel that great about this wide receiver range, so it's a little bit tough. Like you really want your wide receivers a little bit earlier. Now I kind of feel like there's a lot of wide receivers who can see the upside, but also don't feel safe to me. And I feel like Deontay Johnson is kind of the start of that tier for me. Godwin and Hopkins I kind of like consider Godwin and Hopkins interchangeable, which is probably not fair. Just they're dusty vets, probably going to be better than we expect them to be. I don't know. There's a whole lot of wide receivers in this range that are just not that sexy of picks for me. And I just kind of let the board give me what it gives me. Yeah, I think I agree with this. Yeah, Chiefs, they're just going to be better this year than they were last year. Jerome, tater tot hot dish. Is this are you a Minnesota guy? Tier drop off at tight end. That is a good question also. So I would say the tiers to me start with Laporta, Kelsey, Andrews, McBride. Is that a tier? by itself. I'm trying to think if there's one more in that tier. I think it's just those 4 is kind of a tier for me. Then a little bit of a gap before you get to Pitts and Kincaid. And I think I have them ahead of Kittle, Engram. Maybe it's just those 2 at this moment. Kittle, Engram, then kind of another break until Ferguson and Njoku in the next year. Maybe Dallas Goedert in that next tier as well. Like I take those guys ahead of him, but still kind of the same tier. Bowers, I don't really know what to do with, but I think he's kind of back in that tier as well. Probably in the same tier as like a Njoku, Goddard at this point. Yeah, Burrow Jackson would have been fun. That's another one that I think that I've actually got a fair amount of, where I get like at the turn where I just got Andrews and Lamar, then get Burrow the next turn. So I think it's a fairly common one, but it's a nice team when you get those two elite quarterbacks, especially when you can do it with, Andrews and Jamar Chase. You just feel like you have just such elite upside across the board there. All right, so I took Zamir White, DeAndre Hopkins, Deontay Johnson, Christian Watson, and Ladd McConkey. The wide receivers all go off the board. And then now who's available here? We got Keon Coleman, Mike Williams, Cortland Sutton. Like I feel better about those guys than I do this group, but not like that much better. I don't know. So I'm willing to push it there. James Conner, a guy that I feel like sharp people are really in on James Conner this year, and I should be in on James Conner, and I can't get myself to be like drafting him all the time. Just probably just an old bias, You wouldn't expect me to have bias against olds, but I kind of do. I kind of do sometimes. It's more a bias against mileage. Like James, he just has so much mileage on him. And he hasn't really been as injury prone as like we thought he was. Like for a little while, it looked like he was going to be injury prone. He hasn't really. He's been pretty consistent. I just, for whatever reason, I struggle with it. All right, James Conner goes. So I can go. I've been saying I want to draft more Trey Benson. Tough for me to click him over Jalen Warren, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to click Trey Benson over Jalen Warren. I want to have some shares. I think that he is another reason that I'm not like going all in on James Conner is I think Trey Benson might just be really good based on the discourse at fantasy points with Scott Barrett and Brett Whitefield. Like I think they kind of convinced me that I need to be in on Trey Benson. If I'm in any kind of dynasty setting, I would be all over Trey Benson in my unlimited keeper league. Ian, I hope you're no longer listening. I will probably be in on Trey Benson. He'll be a target for me. I just think, it sounds like the talent is there. I don't hate the landing spot in Arizona. I think it's a good offense. Really the only concern there is that he is probably the RB2 behind James Conner. And it's probably not a 1A, 1B situation. It's probably James Conner is just the RB1, but there's some chance there. All right, I could go Purdy here, get my second quarterback. Let's see. Or I could take Cortland Sutton. I feel like I've built out the stack, though. Oh, Jalen Warren's still there. Man, it's not my easiest pick when I only have 3 wide receivers now. Through 9 rounds, I've got 3 wide receivers. That's not great. That's not ideal. But I still think I can make it work. And I took wide receivers with my first 3 picks. So, it's not like I'm starting late with the wide receivers. Started early. Now I'm taking a little break. We'll come back around to it. I kind of like Cortland Sutton. I thought about really there it came down to for me. Cortland Sutton, Brock Purdy. Since I already have 2, if I didn't have both Ayuk and Kittle, I would have probably passed on Brock Purdy there. But since I have both, I feel like I just had to complete the stack. But really it came down to Cortland Sutton, Jalen Warren, and Brock Purdy for me there. don't know what you guys think. If you're with me on that. All right, let's see here. Bring the board back up here. I think I need to be using YouTube chat more instead of just in StreamYard, because I always feel like I, don't really see any comments, and then it's a whole string of comments that I want to respond to. I already responded about the tight end tiers. Hopefully I answered the question well. It gets murky for me after Dallas Goedert. I used to really like Dalton Schultz, and then of course they got Diggs, and don't feel as good about that. Yeah, I think this is probably correct. I think Bowers still probably goes ahead of Dallas Goedert, but not a great landing spot for Brock Bowers. Not what we're hoping for. What up, Chunk? Hold on, Jerome. I don't see the hype in drafting people 20 years old. How old are you, Jerome? There's nobody 20 years older than you in the NFL unless you are a teenager, which I guess is possible. You must be young if there are people in the NFL 20 years older than you. Certainly not James Conner, unless he's got to be what, like 33? Maybe I'm wrong about that. You have Juicy Lucy's where you are, Bindles? Are you I thought you were in Canada. Juicy Lucy's I thought was like just a Minnesota thing. Nobody knows what they are outside of Minnesota. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Yeah, I think that's reasonable, Chris. He might be. I've heard really good things about Brock Bowers just as a prospect. Yeah, Bindles with me on Trey Benson. I think so too. I'm in on it this year, I think, Al Boogie. It's something that I haven't done a ton of in the past, in part because I am famously a bye week bro. So I really do want to make sure that I have my bases covered, like have at least one, extra player for each bye week. I guess that doesn't really apply to like quarterbacks, obviously, or tight ends. Sometimes I'll just draft two. But like running back and wide receiver, I think I try to, have at least 3 running backs available for every week. Obviously, you can't really do it with injury, but I try to. And wide receivers, kind of similarly, I want to have at least, 4 or 5 wide receivers available for each week of the season. So I have not historically done a ton of handcuffing, but I think that I'm trying to loosen up there, trying to get handcuff a little bit more, and maybe don't focus on the bye weeks quite as much this year, because I've heard enough sharp people say that they don't factor in bye weeks. I think to me, it still is a factor. Like, I think once we get the schedule, we have the bye weeks there, I'm probably still going to be factoring it in more than most people, just because the barrier to entry is so low when multiple players are on bye. I think it just makes sense to, factor it in, but shouldn't be a huge focus. Not going to be my biggest focus. All right, my rank. I think here I'm going to go to Rashid Shaheed. I really feel good about Rashid Shaheed's outcome in the draft. I guess it could go Dobbs here too. Kind of comes down to those two. I mean, I don't hate this running back group either. Shaheed more likely to fall to me than Dobbs, but I think I like Shaheed better. I think he's a better player. As the wide receiver too, like the biggest thing for Shaheed has always been like he just doesn't really get enough reps, and I feel like he might get them this year. And if he gets the reps with his talent, I think sky's the limit. What's up, Christopher? Yeah, Kyron Corum, I think that's totally fine to handcuff them. I think that's a spot where Kyron probably just going to be the guy getting vast majority of the carries. If he's ever out though, Corum can just step right in. Like they talk about like Sean McVay is, I don't know if it's Coach Speak Index or I saw it somewhere else, but Sean McVay, what he likes about Corum is basically that he has a lot of the same traits as Kyron. So I kind of think it'll be Kyron's backfield. And then if he ever goes down, it'll be Blake Corum's backfield is my read on that situation. Could be wrong, but I think that's a very solid one to handcuff. If Corum was a little bit more expensive, I probably wouldn't be as into it. But he's going the late 12th, early 13th round. I want to say. I think that's reasonable. Don't think I would want to spend a 9th round pick on handcuffing with Corum, but where he's going, I think it's fine. All right, good to see quarterbacks jumping off the board since I've already got my 2. Gus goes. I do like Gus quite a bit. Let's see, what do we got here? Brian Robinson. I mean, this is a pretty fair price for Brian Robinson. I kind of like Chase Brown. I like my options here. Let's Mike goes with Josh Palmer. I know ETR, this is a really great fall for Josh Palmer in ETR's rankings. All right, what do I want here? I've got 2 running backs. Didn't take my first until pick 76. Does not feel safe with just Amir White and Trey Benson. I think I need to go running back here. I think I'm going to go Brian Robinson. Not that worried about Eckler. I'm a little bit concerned that they brought Eckler in, but I think it's still Brian Robinson's backfield, so I'm happy with that pick. I feel like I needed another running back here. Like with Trey Benson as the RB2, like my RB2 being an actual NFL RB2 does not feel great. Zamir White, there's still a little bit of risk there as well. So I think I think Brian Robinson is kind of a high floor play, which I think I needed here. Let me throw the board back up here. Yeah, shout out Bindles. Chunk the Deuce says, "Hi, let's go, Bindi. Love to see the movement on your stream." Bindles, I feel like you do not have enough subscribers for how much people watch your stuff. Like you have every single one of your subscribers seems to watch every single one of your streams. So I think Bindles, you should go give Bindles a follow because he's doing a lot of good content out there. Texas wide receivers are going to be a DFS thing. That's Texas wide receivers. Is that Xavier Worthy, Adonai Mitchell, or who are the Texas wide receivers? Shows you how much I watch college football. Oh, you're a Hunter Henry guy, Christopher. I have not drafted a ton of Hunter Henry. Yeah, Chunk, hopefully you will join me for a lot of these 150s. I'm going to be probably 2 at a time mostly. I doubt I'll do that many that are just one draft, but I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I'll start working them in when I don't have a lot of time and just have to do one. But usually I think when I do these drafts, when I do these streams, probably knocking out 2 at a time because 150 is a lot of drafts to stream. Okay, Jerome, that makes me feel better. Jerome says that he meant 20 years younger than him. Okay. Who was born in 95? 95 is 29 years ago. Is that, I forget who we were talking about at the time. Oh, okay. Get in Minnesota. Okay. Appreciate it. Do they have Juicy Lucy's in Detroit, Bindles? Hang on, I'll make my pick and then I'll weigh in on the Juicy Lucy debate that is happening. Not really debate, the conversation. Oh no, I got a few before my pick. Chunk the Deuce says I visited Minnesota and went to a legendary bar that had Juicy Lucy's. Not gonna lie, I pushed out and just went with an original burger. So my take on Juicy Lucy's is actually that they're a little bit overrated. Like I think I generally prefer just a regular burger because you bite into the Juicy Lucy, you just get like scalding cheese, like just like shoots on your face, and that's just It's not what I'm looking for. I just want a burger. I just want a delicious burger. I don't want to have to like deal with my, whole mouth burning, my whole face burning off. It's just not the most enjoyable experience to me. I think I'm gonna try give Juicy Looses another try, and I think what I need to do is maybe just cut it down the middle, cut the burger in half before I eat it, so that you get the cheese cooling down a little bit, and the ooze happens before it's in your mouth. So I think I'm going to give it one more shot that way. But yeah, I don't know. Generally, so far, I have not enjoyed it as much as I just enjoy a regular burger. I have stated my love several times for Dontavian Wicks. I think I'm going with Dontavian Wicks here. Part of the reason that I passed on Romeo Dobbs when I was for Rashid Shaheed is I'm not sure that Dobbs is better than Dontavian Wicks. So I'm taking him, going with my guy, Dontavian Wicks. He was a guy that, and I did not get too deep into this, look at the fantasy points data, but first downs per route run is a stat that I know they like at fantasy points. And Dontavian Wicks, 13th last year of the 212 qualifying receivers. Really good from a first downs per route run perspective. I'm into it. I'm into Dontavian Wicks this year. Jerome Ford. I really like Jerome Ford this year, I think. Again, just not sure that Nick Chubb is going to be healthy. Jerome Ford was hashtag good last year. I don't know. I think that I like him for a zero RB build. I think Jerome Ford has, I like his floor and I like his ceiling, I think. I don't know how concerned I should be about Deontay Foreman there. Like, there's a part of me that thinks he might be a thing too. He's one of those guys that, like, depending on camp news, could move up quite a bit. All right. Jalen Wright, does he have any path here? Any path to being relevant? I haven't drafted him at all yet. I kind of want to. Marshawn Lloyd, I like too. I feel like that's a good spot to be in Green Bay. I haven't drafted Wright yet. I'm just gonna do it. Drafting Jalen Wright. Again, going with the like really low floor with Wright. I mean, Benson, I don't think is a really low floor, but like for where I drafted him as my second running back, the floor is relatively low. This is definitely a risky running back room. But I'm just going with 2 quarterbacks, 2 tight ends here, so I can probably do 6 running backs, 8 receivers, cover my ground there. So make up for it in volume. Yeah, Minnesota is beautiful place. I mean, Minnesota in the summer, one of the more underrated places. Y'all should check it out. Bindles, hit me up when you come to Minnesota. We can get a burger or something. I'm not a golfer myself. I keep thinking maybe I'll get into it. Maybe I'll get into it one of these years. More of a disc golfer. There's a course near me in St. Paul that has both real golf and disc golf, and I've done the disc golf several times. Have not golfed there yet. The Meadows at Mystic Lake. I have not golfed there. Ooh, those people were asking yesterday, when is DraftKings best ball coming? Interesting. So they 1.5 million up top. Okay. That's fun. We're gonna have to. I mean, I'm trying to do 150 best ball mania drafts here, so that's gonna be my priority. But probably we'll do some DraftKings best ball drafts on the stream as well at some point, because it is, I think, a little bit softer. Although, again, I've had more success at Underdog than any other of the best ball sites. And I think that it's probably just I focus more on Underdog. I do a million Underdog drafts, and then I just do 10 on drafters, and I think I did like 30 on DraftKings last year. So probably a sample size thing, probably also a just not like changing my thought process enough on those drafts. But that's exciting. We got DraftKings. Bindles, you're a Xavier Leggett guy. I have not drafted a ton of him. I took him in one yesterday because I was doing the Carolina stack. I mean, where he went, we probably should be in on Xavier Leggett this year, especially if you are buying into the potential of Carolina, being good this year, or like being a lot better than they were last year, at least. Yeah, my wide receiver room is a little bit light right now, with just those five. But again, I took wide receivers with my top three picks, so really just need one more to hit if those guys stay healthy. I mean, that's a partial truth because even good wide receivers have their ups and downs. You really want to have, five good receivers, I'd say. Um, but I will draft a few more, make you feel a little bit better about it. All right, coming back around. Kind of want to see what's available here. All right, so I'm sitting at two quarterbacks with Lamar Jackson, Brock Purdy, four running backs so far with Zamir White, Trey Benson, Brian Robinson, and Jalen Wright. Five wide receivers so far with Jamar Chase, Brandon Ayuk, Stephon Diggs, Rashid Shaheed, and Dontavian Wicks, and two tight ends with Mark Andrews and George Kittle. Honestly, I feel way better about those wide receivers than I do the running backs. I have concerns. Even though I'm high on Trey Benson, he's definitely a boom bust type pick. So I feel like I have three boom bust picks here in Zamir White, Trey Benson, and Jalen Wright. Brian Robinson being the relatively the safest of those. So I don't know. Yeah, definitely some concern with the wide receivers. It's a little bit light because I only had three through, my first, I don't know how many picks that is, 10 picks, 9 picks. All right, I could go many different ways here. I assume Xavier Leggett went, right? Yeah, he went a while ago. Okay. I don't feel great about the wide receivers here. So I think I go running back here. Kind of like Jaleel McLaughlin. Maybe should have gone Ray Davis just to. I have a lot of Jaleel McLaughlin in my portfolio already. But Jaleel McLaughlin he was efficient last year. I think he's going to be pretty involved this year. At least I'm hopeful that he will be. So I feel good. I feel good about the pick. Could have gone with one of these other running backs, but feel good about it. No way. Hayden Wings just retweeted that Matt Lane. I don't know who that is. Chiefs expecting Rashee Rice to be suspended half the season. That is insane. If he's suspended half the season, I mean, Xavier Worthy, plenty of opportunity there to cement himself in that offense. That's crazy. Are we adding any other? I don't think we're still adding any other Chiefs receivers to the mix there, though. Like I think it's still just you're just drafting Hollywood Brown, you're drafting Xavier Worthy, you're still taking your shots on Rashee Rice, and obviously Kelsey at tight end. All right, now I think I go receiver here. Let's see. Yeah, I'll throw Burton on there. Unless, did Bateman go? Bateman did not go. I could add him to the stack. Yeah, I'll take my shot on Burton, and then I can see if Bateman or Tez Walker fall to me. Add on to the stack that way. What about Minnesota in January? Yeah, it's pretty cold. Pretty cold in January. Wouldn't recommend it myself. There are a lot of people who love Minnesota in January. People who are, skiers, snowboarders. Minnesota in January can be great. I am not. I'm not a snowbird. I don't love the snow. I don't love the cold. I would prefer. I love 3 of the 4 seasons in Minnesota. I think fall is great. I think Spring is great in Minnesota. Summer is great. Minnesota in January. That's when you take vacations, you go elsewhere. But some people love it. Michael wondering if Ship My Money is ever coming back to the channel. Maybe, yeah. I think he said he would come on to do a best ball stream with me sometime. So I'll have to ask him. That'd be fun. And maybe once I'm done with my best ball mania, I'll jump in and do 150 DraftKings as well. That would be kind of nuts. I think this is actually a good call by Bindles that Leggett probably continues to move up just based on draft capital. He was a first round pick. They traded up to get Leggett. On top of that, right? They traded up to get him, right? Am I remembering this right? Either way, he was an early pick by Carolina, and yeah, I think that they're and people. I think I'm not the only one who sees Carolina as a potential riser, just as an offense overall. And people I think want to be somewhat in. They're going to be some people, and some people will still be completely out on them, obviously. But I think there are going to be some people who are going to be very much in on the Carolina offense. They just want to bet on the offense, and of course, adding the early pick wide receiver is an easy way to get in on that offense for pretty cheap. So I think I could see Leggett rising for sure. Man, Drake May at 176, JJ McCarthy at 178. I saw I did a draft, was it yesterday, where Drake May was falling to past pick. I think he went in the 18th round, actually. I believe he was an 18th round pick. And I didn't take him because I had 2 elite quarterbacks. That is the downside to a draft like this, where I took 2 quarterbacks in the top 100 picks. You can't really scoop up values later. Yeah, agree, Michael. I felt good about the McCarthy pick at 10. Yeah, Jack is absolutely right. Worthy he's going to keep moving up. I don't know how high he can move up. I don't know. He's not going to be a 3rd round pick, is he? I feel like that would be nuts. Yeah, I think Bateman could fall to me. Yeah, so Alex thinks that it's not going to happen with Rashee Rice. I think you're probably right, Alex. My guess is that he doesn't actually get suspended for half the season. Maybe that is the initial, and then they appeal it, and they bring it down to 4 games or something. Would be my expectation. I think that's a good point. It would be unlikely for them to actually suspend him half the year. Yeah, it's good. I agree with you, Christopher. They want Leggett to be a thing. They also just spent high draft capital on him. Best time to visit Minnesota before the leaves fall in late summer. Yeah. Yep. I think that's probably right. I think I agree with that, Junk. It is right. Right now is really nice. Springtime in Minnesota, really nice. Or it's getting to be really nice. It's still a little bit cold right now, but May can be just beautiful in Minnesota. And also, yeah, I keep forgetting that they got Jatavian Sanders. Yeah, I think that is a nice pick there. He should be their tight end 1, I would think. All right. Coming back around to me. Bateman goes, did not fall to me. Kind of a bummer. But got to take those risks sometimes. The backup Bears running back still here. Khalil Herbert, Roshan Johnson. Eli Mitchell still available. Braylon Allen sitting there. Oh, it's my pick. All right, well, I got my guy. I missed that it was my pick already. I thought there was somebody else still picking. Mitchie goes with the Bryce Young. All right, so I'm up to 2572. Probably one more running back, one more receiver, but might depend on who's available. I think I'm done at quarterback and tight end for sure. It was Brendan Rice was the other receiver that I think could move up quite a bit just because he is in Los Angeles in a good spot there. And he has the name recognition, Jerry Rice's son. If he gets any kind of hype, like people are going to be like, "Oh my God, he's Jerry Rice's son," with Justin Herbert throwing to him. So I do think that he is a potential riser. Jacob Cowan, a potential riser. All right, let's see here. Who do I want? I guess I could throw. Speaking of Jacob Cowan, could throw him onto my stack here. I only got one receiver from San Francisco. I also have George Kittle. Yeah, I'll do it. Throw Jacob Cowan on there. He's I've heard him compared favorably to not fair like compared to be maybe a dollar store Tank Dell, which I would take that if he gets any kind of usage there. No guarantee that he like is really in the rotation much this year, especially if they don't trade Ayuk or Debo. But there's certainly paths to Jacob. If they trade one of those guys, I think Jacob Cowan could be quite a big riser in drafts as well. This is also a fair point, I think, by Jack that like it's not great that people were actually. I guess I haven't tracked it that closely. Was anybody like seriously hurt? I feel like it would. My understanding is that nobody was seriously hurt in the crash, which that would have been for sure. Like 8 games would be realistic there, I think, but I don't think anybody was that seriously hurt. Maybe I'm wrong. Alex, are you a lawyer? You must be a lawyer to want to read through 464 pages to find all the CBA data. All right. One more pick in this draft. I will be doing one more draft after this. So if you guys want to join me in that draft, we can do that. Go over my team after I get my last pick here. Probably a running back, but I'll see. We'll see what's available. Bo Nix does finally go. The guy with Troy Franklin, so that's good. He's added to his. It's also his fourth quarterback for Big Show. Don't love that, but got the stack there. Is he stacking everybody? No, it doesn't look like does he have anybody from Miami? Took Tua. Oh, he took Jonnu Smith, so okay. He is trying to stack a little bit there. Interesting. Interesting team. Jatavion Sanders goes in the last round of the draft. Not to the Bryce Young owner. Tyrone Tracy, again, I've been drafting a lot of Singletary, thinking that he's like the clear running back one there in New York. Are we concerned about Tyrone Tracy at all? Because I've heard some people sound like they're very in on him. Maybe I need to start at least drafting some Tyrone Tracy. Mitigate my risk a little bit. Oh, look at all those rookies. That's a fun receiving core with Jermaine Burton, Tez Walker, and Jacob Cowan. Got Jalen Wright and Trey Benson at running back also. What a fun team. Probably need one more running back. Estimate up there. All right, coming up here. Jerome says he's concerned about the whole Giants team. That is fair. I'm trying to decide how much I want to be back in on the Giants this year. Kind of think that I will be, just given how cheap they are. Like last year, we were so in on the Giants taking Daniel Jones around pick like 110, and it felt really good last year taking Daniel Jones around pick 110. Did not work out at all. Obviously, he was hurt a lot, but he's a running quarterback going in the last rounds of the draft. They just added an elite wide receiver in the top 10 picks. Like I do kind of think I might be back in on the Giants this year. I think I go with Deontay Foreman here just because I mean, you're not getting a safe running back this late, but I see paths to upside. I see paths to Deontay Foreman being relevant like immediately with Nick Chubb being hurt, maybe not being a full go right away. And I kind of think Jerome Ford is good, but I also think Deontay Foreman is not a bad running back. So they could be splitting carries early on. So I think for like early season, I need some running backs who are going to score points early in the season, and I think Deontay Foreman could be scoring fantasy points like from week one. Also, obviously has paths to being relevant later in the playoff weeks when we really need them. So I like the pick. All right, we'll take a look at this draft room one more time, then we'll jump into another draft. Yeah, I feel good about that draft. I thought somebody was asking me about. Oh, I like the 4 spot. Yeah, that's where I was drafting. Gotcha. Yeah, it is kind of a fun place to draft from the 4 spot. I tend to like the bookends just so it's easier to make 2 picks at once rather than having to, think about what your opponents are going to do. But yeah, I think that I kind of like the top half of the draft better in general. I think than the back half of the draft, which I guess not really a hot take, but I feel really good about like all of these, the top 5 picks in particular here. Yeah, I think we generally get it right where we're drafting guys. But here for my team, ended up with Lamar Jackson and Brock Purdy at quarterback. At running back, we have 6. We got Zamir White, Trey Benson, Brian Robinson Jr., Jalen Wright, Jaleel McLaughlin, and Deontay Foreman. Pretty risky running back room, but I think we've got some guys who could be relevant early in the year, and then some guys that could be wheels up later in the year. So it could work out. Wide receiver, we got Jamar Chase, Brandon Ayuk, Stephon Diggs, Rashid Shaheed, Dontavian Wicks, Jermaine Burton, Tez Walker, and Jacob Cowing. And then tight end, we have Mark Andrews and George Kittle. So obviously feel great about the quarterbacks and the tight ends. The wide receiver room is a little bit thin with the big gap, and didn't take my 4th receiver until pick 117, Rashid Shaheed. But I'm a believer in Shaheed. I'm a believer in Dontavian Wicks. I think both are going to have some like major spike weeks. We got the floor already with Chase, Ayuk, and Diggs. I think maybe Diggs. Maybe the floor is not as safe as I'm making it out to be with Diggs. But I like Shaheed. I like Dontavian Wicks. And then we got 3 high upside rookies. I think in Jermaine Burton, Devontae Walker, and Jacob Cowing. So I don't hate the wide receiver room. This is not like my best draft, but it's a draft that I think halfway through the year, if it's in contention. And some of these guys could be coming on late. So I'd feel good about it if we get to that point and this team is still live. It could just be in 12th place halfway through the year. So not my favorite draft, but I don't hate it either. I do want to remind you, you can see up on the screen over that way up there. Use promo code Flannel, 15% off any fantasy points product. I am a big believer in the fantasy points product. They have unique stats. So they have all of their stats. They have their own tracking team, people watching every single game, tracking all of the stats, and they track things a little bit differently than other places. So for example, throwaways, they don't count as targets, whereas like the NFL official data is going to count. The quarterback just throws it out of bounds. Whoever the nearest receiver is going to get a target with that throwaway. Fantasy points does not count it as a target, which I think is correct to not count that kind of thing as a target. They judge missed tackles for themselves. They're not using NFL data to determine what is a missed tackle, etc. So I really like that they have kind of their own unique way of doing stats, and I'm a huge fan of this data suite. There's so much that I'm learning about it every day, and as I said, I asked Scott Barrett what I should be looking at, like what are the stats that he finds most relevant. He pointed me directly to this statistically significant page where they have articles up, 5 different articles about stats they've found to be statistically significant. And you can take a look in the data suite at each one of these different statistically significant categories, which is what I have been doing. What I did yesterday, I looked at missed tackles forced per touch. It's hard to say. It's easy to read the stats. Missed tackles forced per touch. We looked at yesterday. Today I pulled up first downs per route run. And you can see here, I've got this sorted. I put a little filter on for at least, I want to say, I did 100 routes run to qualify for this stat, but just want to see who looks good in this first downs per route run, which they have found to be statistically significant. And you can see here, just looking at the top receivers on the board, in general, it's a who's who of some of the best receivers in the league. Tyreek Hill, Brandon Ayuk, Justin Jefferson, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Of course, they're also alphas. Like, these are going to be the guys that are targeted most frequently down the field when you need a first down. But in general, I don't see any huge surprises at the top. Let's see. As we scroll down, does anybody jump out to me? Dontavian Wicks is actually kind of the first one that's like, oh, did not expect Dontavian Wicks to be in this list. So I feel good about being in on Dontavian Wicks. Trey McBride high up there. Deontay Johnson. It's a little bit interesting. I guess that's not a huge surprise. Demarcus Robinson. I need to move him up my ranks because I haven't been drafting a ton of Demarcus Robinson. Probably somebody that we need to be drafting a little bit more of, since his situation is pretty good there with the Rams. OBJ kind of up there. As you can see, we got 212 total receivers or players who matched this threshold. And for the most part, not a lot of huge surprises near the top, but there are some interesting names up there. And Dontavian Wicks kind of stands out. All right, I am going to jump into another draft here, but again, you can get access to the data suite or any other Fantasy Points product 15% off using promo code flannel. All right, jumping in right now to another Best Ball Mania draft. It is whenever o'clock. Let's go. Waiting on a couple more. Favorite position to draft from this year? That's a very good question. I don't think I have one this year. I think that it is. I do. I still like drafting from the one. Again, I like drafting just from the ends, get 2 picks at a time later, after the first pick. So I do kind of like that. But I feel like when I actually look at my teams after the draft, I generally feel better about kind of the middle picks. I actually don't hate like the 11-12 spot this year. If you can get like AJ Brown, do the Eagle stack, I kind of like that. But it's probably, honestly right around where I am here with the fourth through sixth picks. It can be fun to draft like 7 or 8 and just like hope that one of the top picks falls. Like I saw Bindles did his stream last night, got Justin Jefferson at the 7th pick. That feels really good if you can get Jefferson with the 7th pick. I guess that's the downside to the 5th pick is, yes, I'm going to get one of Christian McCaffrey, CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson. That's great. But also, you're not going to get McCaffrey there. If you got McCaffrey at the 5th, you'd be really excited about it. I guess CeeDee Lamb to an extent, but like, I don't know. It doesn't do much for me if Tyreek Hill falls to me at 5. It's cool, but it's not like a huge thing. I don't see a huge difference there, a huge gap between Tyreek Hill, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, or CeeDee Lamb really, but he is pretty consistently the 2nd pick, so it'd be cool to get him at 5th. Jamar Chase goes with the 101. All right, stars. Be bold. He scrolled the F down and got the 4th pick with the 101. I don't hate it. I like it. If you're not doing 150, just go get your guy. But also like it for snatch catchers who gets McCaffrey at the 102. CeeDee Lamb goes with the 3rd pick. So maybe I just get my Vikes guy here. Bijan, kind of fun. New look offense there in Atlanta. I do see for me, I feel a lot better about Bijan than Brees Hall. Maybe I shouldn't, but I do. Yeah, I'm just gonna get my Viking, Justin Jefferson. Come on down. Not mad at it. The downside to taking Justin Jefferson there is I really don't feel confident in the quarterback situation, so it's hard to stack him because I don't really want to take Sam Darnold and risk that he's just like going to be ousted by week 8. And I also don't feel that confident that JJ McCarthy is going to be the quarterback all year. So that's a little bit tough. Yeah, that I agree with you, Jerome. Hill's situation is much better. Jefferson just such an elite receiver. Like I think he's going to get his. I'm not. I don't feel like I can take a quarterback with Justin Jefferson. Other people taking JJ McCarthy. I'll probably take some JJ McCarthy. Again, I'm a Vikings fan. Going to be watching a lot of Vikings game. I'm going to want to be cheering for the Vikings. So I'll take some JJ McCarthy. And if we get news, in July or hopefully sooner, that JJ McCarthy is guy, he's going to be the starter from week 1, then I'm all in. I'm going to be drafting a ton of JJ McCarthy at that point. Just not confident we're going to get that news. Am I crazy for liking Bijan like a tier above Brees Hall? Because for a while, Brees Hall was like going clearly ahead of Bijan. And I think that I think they're probably pretty similar. I'm probably wrong. Oh, is that you with the second pick, Chris? Your username is Snatch Catchers. Okay, I'll have to remember that. You think, Jerome, you think it was a homer pick to take Jefferson with the 5th? I feel like it's like his ADP. It's right where he goes. If I had taken him over Tyreek Hill, you could call it a homer pick, but Tyreek went, so I didn't have that option. I feel like it was just like the usual pick there. Yeah, ADP of 5.7. And I like taking receivers early. I mean, you've seen it. I say that, and then a lot of the drafts that I've done on stream, I'm not taking receivers early, and it gets kind of ugly. Like my teams have been, I sort of regretted not taking more early receivers. Drake London, man, I wish I had taken more Drake London back when he was, late 3rd, early 4th round. I took a fair amount of him, so I can't be too mad about it. But moving on up. I took Ayuk in the last draft, so I think I probably want to just mix it up. Although, again, you look at this stat, number 2 in the first downs per route run. Is it per route run or target? Let me look at this again. Yeah, first downs per route run. He is number 2 overall. So I don't hate taking Ayuk there, but I think I'm going to mix it up just because I did already take him. All right, so the news is Debo likely staying with the team. I mean, that's kind of what we've been expecting. Took Ayuk last time. Going to go Debo this time. Yeah, feel good about that. Feel like it's a good pick. I said that a lot, don't I? I feel good about that. We just don't know. So I'm usually going to feel good about my picks. Throw the board up here. Alex, you are in on Nico Collins, it looks like. I was just saying I feel like he's going too early. Alex disagrees. Kyron falls all the way to the end of the second round. Don't love the 2 running back start, but yeah, Chris, I think when Kyron falls that late, maybe make an exception. Interesting. Diggs and then Cooper Kupp stars interesting, taking a stand there with an early Cooper Kupp. Snatch Catchers trying to change the username, but can't figure it out. Now, why would you change the username? I really want one of these Big Boob 69 to win Best Ball Mania. It would just be the best thing ever if one of these funny sexual usernames wins Best Ball Mania. Put Underdog in that spot. It would be so funny. That's all I want. That's all I want in life. What I really want is on Drafters. I'm cheering so hard for Adam. Ship my money on Drafters, where his username is Bimforce Bitch Tits. If Adam wins that, I mean, that would be king shit for sure. All right, Crystal Lobby falls all the way back to me late third round. So I was thinking about taking him in the last round. Yeah, I'm taking him here. Feel good about that. I said it again. But this time I really feel good about it. 3-5 Crystal Lobby feels good. Amon-Ra over Justin Jefferson is a bit of a hot take. Yeah, you can count on the quarterback situation more reliable there for Detroit, but Justin Jefferson just better than Amon-Ra St. Brown. So I don't know. Yeah, Chris, hard to pass up the two running backs there when it falls to you like that. But 3 wide receivers start this time, and I feel like these are J-Jets, Debo, Chris Olave. That is a strong start to my receivers. So not making the same mistake that I've been making where I just don't take a bunch of receivers early. It's getting them on the team early and often now. I also do like the kind of the what we would consider the running back dead zone in the past. I kind of like it this year. There's just so many decent running backs with upside in that range this year. So getting wide receivers early and then just getting a bunch of running backs at pick, I don't know, 80 to 130. That's a fun range to draft running backs, in my opinion. Somebody in my on my last video commented, because I said to me it's kind of a coin flip between Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren. Somebody in the comments said you should just take both. He's been drafting a lot of both, and I kind of think that's right. You just draft both Steelers running backs. Feels pretty good where they're going. Pittman seems to be kind of a faller in drafts. Feel like he's been he's not ranked very highly in the places that do rankings, ETR, leg up, etc. And I think that the drafts are starting to reflect that he's not ranked that highly. Jimmy's gets the Derrick Henry Lamar stack. Not bad. Just has one wide receiver, though. That's a little bit tough. Yeah, we've got a few teams that are a little bit wide receiver light here. And then some total piss boys like myself. Alex, another piss boy. All right, we are coming up next. Zay Flowers next on the board. I don't draft a ton of Zay Flowers when I don't already have Lamar. He goes anyway, so I don't have to worry about it. What do I want to do here? I don't think I need none of these. I don't have any stacking options here. Debating going to Mahomes here. Yeah, doing it. And then I'm not going to want Rashee Rice if he's fallen like he probably should be. I'm just going to star these Kansas City receivers, though, and then think about whether I really want to take one well ahead of ADP. Trey McBride goes. Chris says he's had the name for over 20 years, and it's not about women. Okay. It's about his competition. You call your competition Snatch? I'm not sure I follow. But he's been married and he doesn't feel right. Yeah, I get that. That's it. Stars goes with the Stroud Mixon double tap. Curious if he has a receiver also. I guess we can see here. Oh yeah, so he's already got Diggs there. All right, so I think here I feel good about taking Marquise Brown here because now Rashee Rice might be suspended. I suspect that if we continue to hear that Rashee Rice is going to be suspended a lot of the year, there's going to be a flipping in here. I do think that Alex is probably right that it's not actually going to be half a year, but this might be my last opportunity to get Marquise Brown here. And Alex, of course, was saying in chat that he believes that Rashee Rice, no way he actually gets suspended for 8 games. He could be suspended for 5, though. And I'm not sure I believe that Rashee Rice is like that huge of a separator in terms of talent. Like I think Marquise Brown with Patrick Mahomes could be great. I also, part of this is just portfolio exposure for me. The reason I took Marquise Brown over Rashee Rice, I've got a lot more Rashee Rice than Marquise Brown. And if we keep hearing for a while that Rashee Rice is going to be suspended for half the year, I think that we're going to see a flipping, and it's going to be really tough to take Marquise Brown for a while. So taking him now, I don't love that I reached for Marquise Brown at pick 53, but since I took Mahomes there, I think I'm okay with it. But I also don't hate the Rashee Rice. My only concern here, Alex, would be that I think Rashee Rice is going to continue to fall if this news continues to be like he's going to be out half the season. He's just going to keep falling. It would be my thought. Yeah, Jerome, that's the thing. If you don't take early receivers, everybody's team looks ugly if you don't take receivers early and often. That is the type thing. As I have found in these stream drafts, I've done a lot of like not taking receivers early enough, and you can see it. You can see that you're missing the receivers because there are a lot of later running backs that feel pretty good. But it's always tough for me to pass on Mark Andrews in the 5th round. Like I always want Mark Andrews there. I usually take one of these high-end tight ends. All right, pick coming up soon. I like Kyle Pitts quite a bit. So even as a 0 RB bro or 0 running back bro, Xavier Worthy goes. That's kind of a bummer. I thought I was going to be able to do the San Francisco or the Chiefs double stack there. What's his ADP? Yeah, he didn't take him that far ahead ADP, and he could be moving up now if Rashee Rice misses a good amount of time. So can't blame Mayor McShippet for taking him, but would have been nice if he fell to me. Kenneth Walker has fallen so much from where he was at one point. Let's see. I think I'm going Brian Thomas here. Yeah. In fact, I know I am. Brian Thomas, 5th receiver. So now we got our wide receiver 5 at pick 68 this time after taking our 5th receiver at 117 in the last draft. Feels better when you get him this early. Still do not have any tight ends or running backs. We just got Mahomes single stacked and then 4 other receivers. Chris goes with Deontay Johnson. Stars adds Joe Burrow. So he's got 2 quarterbacks already. He's got them both stacked up. Jake Ferguson, that's a bit early. But in a good spot in Dallas. Chris. Killing me. I was hoping Ingram was going to fall back to me. Do my Jacksonville double stack. But I think it's a good pick. All right. Who do I want here? I could throw on Aaron Jones to my Minnesota stack with Justin Jefferson. That's kind of fun. I'll do it. I'm doing it. This might be a 3 tight end build for me. Not big on drafting Hawkinson. I'm concerned about the health, and now we don't have Kirk Cousins throwing to him anymore. But is Hawkinson a free fall? Let me look. ADP of 122 feels better than an ADP of like 90 something where he was before. It still feels a little bit early to me, but he clearly has the upside to go off in the playoffs at low ownership, so it's not that far off where he should be, I think. Yeah, I think I agree with you, Hobbit, that just taking Josh Downs or even Adonai Mitchell, you can, if you want to go with the Colt stack, it feels better to do Anthony Richardson first and then get your receivers later. But Pittman is also just, he's the guy. I think he's clearly the alpha receiver there. Yeah, I get this hobby. I have concerns. Maybe I shouldn't have concerns about Kelsey just not being used enough during the regular season. But yeah, he's going in the early 4th round as opposed to the 1st round this year. So the price is right on Kelsey. I probably should be more in on Kelsey than I am. Yeah, we saw this wounded yeast. DraftKings lost their. I should read off the DraftKings best ball product. This show is not sponsored by Underdog, by the way. Despite the fact that I'm doing 150 best ball mania drafts, we are not sponsored. So can read off the DraftKings stuff. What do they got going on? All right, how many contests are out? So they got a $20 with 1.5 million up top. So they matched Underdog in terms of the up top price. Of course, there's it's $20 instead of $25 to enter. It's also 882,000 entrants in that contest. They do have a high end. They have a Millie Maker that's $555 Millie Maker. So that's kind of cool. Love that for DraftKings. This is interesting. DraftKings has a $10,000 entry, 144 entrant contest with 400,000 to first. So if you are a high stakes guy, you got your high stakes contest there on DraftKings. Haven't looked at what the rake is on any of these yet, but that's pretty sweet. And then they also have a $3 20 entry max, $1 million in total prizes. So actually some pretty solid contests on DraftKings this year as well. All right, we are coming up on my pick. All right, who do I want here? I guess I don't have a tight end yet. I think I just go with Joku. Yeah, I'm going to Joku. I do like these running backs in this range. As I said, this is just a fun range to be drafting running back. So it feels good to get your receivers earlier and then get your running backs here. Don't think I'm going to be taking Brock Purdy this time with just a single stack. I feel good about having Mahomes, and I'll draft a second quarterback later. Could maybe get Benson again. Pollard. Pollard fallen past ADP a little bit. But we did get both Zamir White and Jalen Warren off the board. Part of the reason that I felt better about taking Njoku there is all of the different running backs on the board. Sometimes you do that. You push the running back and then all the guys you want get pushed. That's not ideal. Don't love it when that happens. But it does happen sometimes. Moss goes. Not sure what to make of Curtis Samuel or like the Buffalo receivers in general after they drafted Keon Coleman. Like, not convinced that Keon Coleman is the. I don't know who is the wide receiver one there in Buffalo. All right, so Trey Benson goes. He leaves me Tony Pollard. I think I like Tony Pollard here. Could go Jonathan Brooks also. Nice landing spot in Carolina. But yeah, I'm going to go with Tony Pollard. I have heard that it's going to be a split backfield. Like it's not just going to be Tony Pollard as the running back one, but he was coming on late last year, coming into his own. I think that they are trying to win there in Tennessee. I think it could be a good offense this year. So yeah, I don't dislike Tony Pollard. Jerome, I'll if I win a big contest, maybe I will fire a shot at the 10K on DraftKings. But that is, I am not that high stakes of a best ball guy. But maybe if I win like a 50,000 to first kind of contest in DFS, then maybe I consider doing it. Lockett goes at 98 in this one. Chris, you must be an ETR guy if you're taking Tyler Lockett at 98. Is that right? Let's take a look at the team. So we got Mahomes, Aaron Jones, Tony Pollard, Jets, Debo, Olave, Hollywood, Brian Thomas, David Njoku. I like the start of this team. I feel good about this. Biggest concern still running back. I mean, Jones could be good. I think he's a talented running back. Happy to land him in Minnesota, but also the Vikings offense could be tough. Like I don't think they have a great offensive line. A little bit concerned about that. That's another thing that I feel like I need to dive into a little bit more this year is like offensive line. I think it's so important for running backs. It's also important for like quarterbacks having time to get the ball out. And it's just not as a fantasy guy. I think it's too relevant to not pay attention to. So outside of the Vikings, I don't really know how to rank offensive lines. I think that's kind of something that it's important and probably something that I overlook. I think a lot of people overlook the importance of offensive lines in just like how good an offense is going to be, which is like Philadelphia losing Jason Kelsey. Like it's hard to know how much of an impact that's going to have. So maybe that's kind of thing that definitely I'm going to need to outsource that. I can't tell you who are the best offensive linemen. I need to find that elsewhere. All right, coming up on my pick. Purdy's still sitting there. Singletary, Brian Robinson. I do like Singletary. I could add a second tight end with Dallas Goedert and still end my tight ends early here. Nah, I'm going to go Singletary. Feel good about Singletary. He's the downside there is I don't see a huge difference. Singletary, Brian Robinson, Gus Edwards, Tyjae Spears. I guess I have Tony Pollard. I think you can probably handcuff with Tony Pollard and Tyjae Spears. I think that's where they go. It's probably still fine to just take them both, similar to the Pittsburgh guys. Make a bet on the offense. But I think Singletary probably my favorite of this tier. Chris goes Brian Robinson. Copper prices, I do both. I'll probably do more DraftKings than Drafters. I think that Underdog is going to release a Drafter style contest, like cumulative scoring contest. I think that is their, like, they got rid of the cumulative regular season prize in Best Ball Mania. My assumption is that their plan is just they're going to have their own Drafter style product. Of course, Drafter is going to have promos and stuff. I'll do both. I'm going to be probably drafting all of them to some extent. If I had to guess, I'll draft more DraftKings just because I play DFS. I'm just on DraftKings more. But drafters, if they do promos that really entice me, maybe I'll end up drafting more there. Well, Tyjae Spears falls. I could do the double tap there, but Brock Purdy, I have just finish my quarterbacks here. I could take Dallas Goedert, finish my tight ends here, but I kind of think with Brock Purdy falling this far, might as well just finish out my quarterback room. Got the Super Bowl quarterbacks on the team. So we're sitting at 2 quarterbacks in Mahomes and Purdy, 3 running backs in Aaron Jones, Tony Pollard, Devin Singletary, 5 receivers in Justin Jefferson, Deebo Samuel, Chris Olave, Marquise Brown, Brian Thomas, and then David Njoku at tight end. I like it. I like this team so far. Feel good about the receivers here. Njoku, you got him just right at ADP, but I think he's a fine. Prefer Njoku as my tight end too. I've been generally finishing up tight ends pretty early in my drafts. Jones, Pollard, Singletary, I think is a solid top 3 running back. So I think in general, I feel like better about this team than the last one. Yeah, Chris knows what's up. Best ball whenever. You just draft when you feel like drafting, in whatever contest you feel like drafting. It's all vibes. Yeah, Jerome says, I guess Jefferson could be like Andre Johnson back in the day. He's going to eat no matter who's throwing the ball. I think that is the case. I think he's just too good to not eat no matter who is throwing him the ball, no matter who is the offensive line. I think Justin Jefferson just going to get his. Chris says, I got the AARP squad. I'll have to take a look at your squad, Chris. Oh, you got Troy Franklin. McCaffrey, a little bit older. Kyron's still fairly young, but yeah, you got Evans, Keenan Allen, old guys. Deontay, vet. I wouldn't call him old. Ingram, I guess, getting up there. You got Caleb Williams, Tyler Lockett getting up there. Robinson's still pretty young, not that old. You got a few of the AARP guys on there. Good mix, I'd say. All right, we're coming back around to my turn. Am I just going to be a Dontavian Wicks in every draft guy? I got a couple of Vikings. There could be some correlation there. Man, Zeke. That's such a high ranking on Zeke. Yeah, I think I'm a Dontavian Wicks. I'm just a truther. I'll stop drafting him so much once he moves up a little bit more. I could do the Vikings double running back tap there with Ty Chandler. Maybe I'll do a late round San Francisco running back to throw on there. Then it's kind of some correlation in Isaac Orendo, Eli Mitchell with Brock Purdy, because you have to think if McCaffrey is out. I don't know if this is the correct analysis. Oh, I guess I could have gone Pearsall to my stack. I didn't even think about Pearsall being part of my stack. But could do Orendo. The thinking being if McCaffrey is out, theoretically they're going to be throwing more, but they'll still be running enough to pay off Orendo or Eli Mitchell's price tags. I don't know. Does the offense get worse enough that it doesn't work out? I'm not sure. And Brock Purdy also likes throwing to McCaffrey, so I like that pairing as well. So I could do Ford, Chandler, not going Polk here. I feel like I could go Otten, Musgrave, maybe Gibson. Wouldn't hate Marshawn Lloyd. I think my favorite pick here is Luke Musgrave. Could be, again, a comeback on those Vikings. I've got both Aaron Jones and Justin Jefferson. I did already take Dontavian Wicks, also kind of correlating, just betting on that Green Bay offense. I think he's good enough that I could, theoretically, I think this could just be my tight end room, Njoku and Musgrave. Biggest concern there is I think Tyler Kraft is maybe better than he's given credit for and might be a bigger threat to Musgrave than we are accounting for in drafting Musgrave. But Musgrave, Musgrave has this. I know Hayden Winks was big on Musgrave last year. Big believer. I think he's still got that upside. Are those still going on? Does Drafters still have free entry incentives? I'll have to check that out if they do. Yeah, Chris Ford been playing for over 20 years, it sounds like. So have I. So you're probably not that old, maybe my age-ish. Chandler goes at 155. Nothing too crazy here. Haven't had any drafts yet with anybody who I thought was intentionally throwing the draft. It's possible I'm just missing them, but so far it seems like it's all good faith drafters. All right, what are we looking at here? Got Mahomes and Purdy at quarterback. Aaron Jones, Tony Pollard, Devin Singletary at running back. Justin Jefferson, Deebo Samuel, Chris Olave, Marquise Brown, Brian Thomas, Dontavian Wicks at wide receiver, and David Njoku, Luke Musgrave at tight end. Might be done at tight end. Almost certainly done at quarterback. So I think I can largely, outside of those positions, I'm largely just drafting based on best available at this point. And if a quarterback falls, like if JJ McCarthy falls to round 18, probably have to consider him since I do have the bet on Minnesota already. But probably not draft another quarterback. All right, coming up on my pick up next. Could take Gibson here. We saw he looked good in the missed tackles forced per touch metric. Don't think I need to take Otten. I don't think I'm that in on Jalen Polk in New England. Maybe I should be, but I think that's more like if I don't already have a quarterback, I'll take him kind of thing. I'm going Gibson. I think he should have opportunities. And I drafted Ramondre Stevenson, one of the earlier streams, and I am also in on Ramondre Stevenson. But I think that Gibson has enough talent that he could have opportunities. He's definitely got contingent upside. We've seen him as the running back one in the past. I think he could do it if he needs to. So for pick 164, I think that's a fair place to take him. Kimani Vidal up to ADP of 189 already, so he's been moving up quickly. Don't know what I want to do here. All right. Ranking. Got Jaleel McLaughlin at the top. Might just do it. Probably need the help at running back. I like the player. All right, we got Jaleel McLaughlin. So added a couple running backs there. Alex going late quarterback with Stafford and Bryce Young. You got Bryce Young with Leggett. And you got Jonathan Brooks there. And then Matthew Stafford with. Do you have a pair in there? Looks like you're gonna have to add on if you want to stack Stafford, have to back stack it. I generally stack my quarterbacks, but I know not everybody does on all of them. I don't know what this is in reference to. NFC North only draft. You could theoretically start with Justin Jefferson, Josh Jacobs, DJ Moore, Keenan Allen / Rome Odunze, Jordan Addison. I mean, it'd be fun. Yeah, why not? Glad you're with me, Jerome, on the Dontavian Wicks pick. I'm just not sure he's the fourth receiver there. If I had to guess, like, I set the over-under on Dontavian Wicks in terms of targets this year for the Packers at, like, ranking on the team at, I think, if you set it at 3.5, I would take the under, as in he's going to be one of the top 3 in targets for the Packers this year. I don't know who is going to be behind him. I don't know how it's going to happen, but that would be my guess. I think that's a hot take. Maybe it's not. All right. Pop Douglas continues to fall. I think he's going to continue to fall. Do I go Luke McCaffrey? I still haven't drafted any Sinnott, which doesn't feel good. I feel like I want to be drafting more Sinnott. I still continue to draft early tight ends. Do I just take Pop Douglas here? Yeah, why not? That one does not feel that good. He's just seems like he's always available past ADP, which is obviously not true, but it feels that way. I don't hate Justin Fields this late. Like, I don't know. He might be the starter earlier than we're anticipating, and he might be like he's had seasons where he's just a star fantasy player. So yeah, at this pick, don't hate it. I'm not drafting a ton of George Pickens, and there aren't that many. Freiermuth, I guess, but not that many Pittsburgh pass catchers I want to pair him with. So sometimes I think you just take the naked Justin Fields unstacked. I think it's totally fine. I think I'm largely out on George Pickens this year. Maybe Russ can make me regret that. Where he's going in drafts, I haven't really seen it from him. He's great at catching in traffic. I'm not sure that he's great at much else. But maybe I'm underrating George Pickens. He definitely has like some of the best highlight reel catches in the league. Just wish that he would separate a little bit more. Garendo goes. Yeah, McCarthy continues to fall. Keaton Mitchell. All right, let's see, by ADP. Any big ADP fallers? Not really. All right, we'll see. We'll see if McCarthy falls. If McCarthy falls to the next round, I'll consider it. A third quarterback with Mahomes and Purdy. Not something I really feel the need to do generally, but since I do have Justin Jefferson and I have Aaron Jones, maybe I take the value. I'd consider it. Oh, Chris, you got the Fields double stack. This is so Randall makes an interesting point here. So we talked about how much I love Dontavian Wicks, and I actually here let me pull this up here. So I'm 11 picks away, so I can pull up the. If you go to this first downs per route run, if you change the filter a little bit lower, if you make it less restrictive, so I have it at Minimum routes run right now of 100. You change it to 50. Show you the top of the board here. Bo Melton, number 1 in first downs per route run. Now that is a very, very small sample size. But to your point, beat out Tyreek Hill, Brandon Ayuk, all these other great receivers in terms of first downs per route run. So if you want to just buy into that small sample size, yeah, Bo Melton, and this is responding to Randall saying Bo Melton played great down the stretch. Yeah, he led the league in first downs per route run, minimum of 50 routes run, which is not a ton. That's a very, very small sample size. And he didn't get to the 100 threshold. So don't have much there. But yeah, he's up there. Deontay Foreman goes. I feel I'm trying to stop myself now from saying I feel good about this because I feel like I say it 30 times per stream. But I like this team. I think I like this better than the first team that I drafted. I think just the like talent per position or like I don't know, upside per position feels better here than it did in the first room that I drafted. With Mahomes, Purdy, obviously a strong quarterback room. I think the tight ends are good enough in Njoku and Musgrave. It's later than I usually take my second tight end, but I think that they're decent enough. The running backs, I think that I have just a higher floor in these running backs, even though I think it's fun drafting Trey Benson, drafting some of those rookies. I think the floor is clearly higher here in Aaron Jones, Tony Pollard, Devin Singletary, Antonio Gibson, Jaleel McLaughlin, and Keaton Mitchell. Like the floor, and I still think that this running back room, there are a lot of guys that I think have paths to upside. And then the receivers, I took, as I said, I didn't take my fourth receiver in the last draft. I'll pick 117. My fourth receiver here is Marquise Brown, who I took with my 53rd pick. Fifth is Brian Thomas at 68. Feels much better. McCarthy goes. Alex sniped me. I'm not mad at it though, because I didn't really want to take him. Sort of felt obligated if he fell to me. Maybe another receiver here is what I need. Who's fun? Who's a fun receiver to take? Oh, wait. I've got Purdy. I'm just going to do the Cowing stack once again. Purdy and Cowing just makes sense. If Cowing hits, Purdy's going to hit in a big way, I think. So I think that's a good pairing. Could get 0 from Cowing all year. Sounds like they're probably not trading Ayuk or Debo, and Cowing is 5th on the receiver depth chart. If we assume Juwan Jennings is ahead of him. But, maybe he's the 5th receiver who gets out there with some deep routes from time to time, has some spike weeks. This is good advice from Captain Osmo. You need to name your drafts in the lobby, especially 0, 0, 1, and on. So if one gets thrown out, you know what kind of redo you need to do. Wait, what do you mean by that? What kind of redo you need to do? Maybe I'm not following. All right, let's take a look. So I end up with Patrick Mahomes, Brock Purdy at quarterback, Aaron Jones, Tony Pollard, Devin Singletary, Antonio Gibson, Jaleel McLaughlin, and Keaton Mitchell at running back. My wide receivers are Justin Jefferson, Deebo Samuel, Chris Olave, Marquise Brown, Brian Thomas, Dontavian Wicks, Demario Douglas, and Jacob Cowing. And then my tight ends are David Njoku and Luke Musgrave. Weaker tight end room than I usually draft, but I think, both of these tight ends are high floor, high ceiling type players. So I don't think it's the worst tight end room I could have drafted. In general, I think this is a pretty solid team. Not spectacular, not like the best team I've ever drafted, but in general, decent enough draft there. All right. I think that is the final draft I'm doing today. I have playing for keeps coming tonight with BP Colonia. So hopefully you guys will join me for that. He is one of the best DFS players in the world. I'm very excited to be doing that show with BP Colonia. We've been talking for quite a while. So hopefully you guys join me tonight. That's going to be at 9 Eastern. Should be a good show. I don't know much about BP Colonia's process. I chat with him pretty regularly, but we don't chat much DFS other than tilting. So excited to hear from BP Coloni, hear a little bit about his process strategy, just his thoughts on the industry overall. So excited about that one tonight. Hopefully you guys will join me for that one. Yeah, Jerome says about my last draft, not a hot take, but looks better because he took wide receivers earlier. Yeah, I think that you are correct about that. Oh, I see. Captain Osmo says when one team gets thrown out, he tries to rebuild that team. I don't think I really try to do that. I think I'll just, look at my portfolio exposures at that point. I won't necessarily try to redraft that team. Probably a good idea to label my teams anyway. Keith, oh, I think he means keep creating. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate you. Alex also. So one of the three of us, Chris or Alex or myself. Hopefully, I don't know if anybody else was in here watching the stream and drafting with us. Hopefully, one of the Best Ball Mania winners came from that stream. Well, there were some solid teams drafted. Had a good time. Anyway, thank you guys for hanging out. Join me tonight at 9 Eastern. Playing for keeps. Me and BP Colonia should be a good one. Thanks for hanging out and catch you then.